Recently, I bumped into an old classmate from university, and the first question she said to me was, Shan, I saw you're very active on Facebook, and now you are a speaker and storyteller. I'm just very curious, what exactly is that? And can you actually earn a living from it? I was stunned by the question from an old classmate, and that was the first question that she asked me. And I said to her, well, you know, I really enjoy storytelling. And recently I just came back from an international cruise where they invited me as a keynote speaker as well as enrichment lecturer. I just love to share knowledge. And here goes the story. It started when I was very young. When I was 6 years old, my mother would groom me to be one of the world's greatest storytellers. And the stage was my playground. I love to tell stories, I love to perform, and I love to sing. And my mom would be so proud of me. And from then, I always enjoyed telling stories. And to me, everybody knows that our brains are hardwired for stories. Back in the olden days, the cavemen would gather around the campfires, hunters listening to stories about adventures, about how they hunt. And to all of us close to our hearts, our parents, our grandparents would always tell us memorable stories of their childhood, their wartime stories. And to me, when I was a teenager, I always enjoyed this activity in bonding over family dinners. My grandmother would always gather all the children, all the uncles and aunties around the Cantonese dinner table, and we all enjoy the stories that my grandmother would tell me about World War, about how they fell in love, and how they started their school life. But my friends, today I'm not going to tell you what my grandmother told me, but the art of storytelling. And a show of hand, how many of you think that great brands and great businesses are great storytellers? Great brands like Apple, great brands like Starbucks, Facebook, yes, most of us think that. Because storytelling is not what we do, but storytelling is the essence of who we are. And the similarities between these people that you see here, they are inspiring business leaders, they are entrepreneurs, they are technology innovators, they are the world champion speakers, and all of them have something special in them that I discovered. And they are all brilliant storytellers. They are able to push forth the frontiers of innovation by the products they design, by the lifestyle, the brand names that they roll out. But what is the true secret? How do they become the brilliant storytellers? And today I'm going to unravel this mystery of the art of storytelling in this masterpiece. The storytelling secret is the marriage of two things and why we are here today. The notion, the magical things of what stories bring to life. And the other thing is about technology that is worth sharing these beautiful stories. Now take a deeper look. To me, stories are magical tales, adventures that gives us imagination and bring us back and forth in time of different centuries. And they all create a signature sound. What do I mean by that? Through my 10 years of working life, I remember interacting with a lot of entrepreneurs, founders of sound, the movers and shakers of innovators, and they share with me many wonderful stories of how they started from rags to richer stories. And today I'm going to share with you why the stories matter to everybody. Now first, is the most intriguing mystery that I always found. Is the letter H stands for humility and humor. Because humor connects fastest to any strangers, any audience. And I would like to share with you the story about a giant. A giant story. What do you mean? About 5 years ago, I met this creator who has designed one of the world's first sound. Imagine in the 80s, our computing devices, our personal computers just came out of this sound. Zzz. There's no music, there's no magical sound that come out from our computing device. And there was one man who had this vision. He was a very humble man, in my opinion. He lived a simple life, and he saved everything. He gave tuition, he repaired personal computers to save enough because he wanted our computers to have a sound. And in 1989, he launched the world's first sound blaster. And you see here, he met a musical legend, Michael Jackson, and that was where Singapore, he placed Singapore, if you see Singapore as a small ant on the world map, the creator of Creative Sound Blaster, Sim Hwang Hu, has done it. He has created a signature sound for Singapore. How did he do that? He invented a signature sound for Singapore from a Sound Blaster chipset that made Singapore famous on the international arena. That became the resounding success of all the music movers and shakers in the world today. And to me, that was intriguing because it spun off a whole generation, a whole industries of like X Mini, one of the world's smallest sound capsule, came from Singapore, and much more. Apple products came to Singapore through Epicenter. And this, to me, was a giant story because all these creators were fantastic and brilliant storytellers. They told us how they make their story, their product come to life through music. Through music, through life, through their innovation. And that was the backbone of how wonderful brands like Apple was created. And the second secret I want to share today is about authenticity. What do I mean? Authenticity brings to me a very close feeling to me, because to me, I like to be vulnerable to my audience. I like to be real. I want to be comfortable with the audience because all of us are humans. And we know these factors that, like, if we are being vulnerable to others, we are more comfortable in our skin, they are more likable. Let me share with you another story. When I was in school, right about 6 years old, there was a teacher who came up to me and she looked at me and she said, "Shan, you are an ugly duckling." Wow, those 4 words, "you are an ugly duckling," totally pierced my heart of a young girl. What do you mean? How can a teacher say that to someone? I was heartbroken for years, and that brought down my self-esteem. I didn't have self-confidence. I didn't even dare to speak up. Throughout my working life, I felt like I was an ugly duckling. I was not good enough. I dare not speak up. But what changed me was that I learned from the lessons of all these innovators, all these entrepreneurs and storytellers. They have a unique factor called the authenticity. They are able to share their success, their failures, and how their embarrassing moments in life help save their business. And to me, I said, why not? Why don't I change the landscape? Why don't I start to make a paradigm shift in my career, in my job, in my study life? So I thought about a simple idea, so called a transformation. So using the power of authenticity, that is the birthplace of innovation, I thought to myself, so what? They call me an ugly duckling. So let's change and reframe this whole thing. Let's look at things like a black swan. You know, people have seen white swans before, but black swan in the area of technology, in the area of innovation, what comes to mind? To me, the first thing that pops out of my mind is Google. Google is the first black swan in the world, an unpredictable event, an unpredictable innovation that strikes a chord in everybody. And I started to merge these two things together using the power of technology and speech. I decided to craft a message that is resounding to the world. So for instance, I started to sign up as a contestant in a humorous speech contest. I wanted to let the people see that, you know, we have an ugly past. Who doesn't? We all have failures. We fail exams. We conquer our fears. We have failed relationships. How about using this darkness, this ugly duckling side, and transform it into a beautiful black swan? So that was the transformation that I wanted to show. And so that I can encourage people that using this real secret of authenticity, you can connect with people in a more realistic way. And that was the breakthrough year. So using that special technique, that special secret of authenticity and humility, it spun off another magical tool called the novelty. How novelty arrived is that I began to realize that it gives me an uncommon advantage over other speakers, over other people. So tapping upon the knowledge of my first job, I signed on to a contract and I worked in the Gambit Game Lab. Essentially, it's a R&D game lab that translates all our papers, all our research papers from researchers into actual products, actual educational games for commercialization. And I saw all these artists drawing prototypes, designers, gamers, programmers. They are awesome. What they did was that they pushed boundaries. Nothing has been created from paper, and yet they have woven all these paper products into prototypes, into an actual game, and pitch it to the publishers. So using the idea of innovation, using the idea of novelty, we can make things come to life. And that was where the aha moment came, where I decided to transform a speech using technology and marry these two special products together. And using that transformation, I achieved one of the greatest achievements and breakthrough for myself in speech, in the arena of speech. I decided to take part with the encouragement of my friends and my family, and I emerged surprisingly as the youngest female champion, talking about the transformation of the ugly duckling. So today, I found that the art of storytelling lies with innovation, lies with the power of that revelation of you and you and you. Being able to tell your stories of not only success, but how do you derive from a signature sound that carries with you to give you an original, uncommon advantage, and carry it through to make it a resounding message for the world. So the art of storytelling lies with these critical factors of stories that charms, captivate, and mesmerize the audience through who you are. You might not be the ugly duckling, you might be an eagle, you might be a metaphor that you can think of, or in the areas that you are talented in. For instance, you want to be a great athlete, you want to be one of the best speaker in Singapore or the region, you want to be the best musician. So what is the story? So today I challenge you to weave that story together and to change how people perceive you, right? Second is to use that humility that all of us have in us. Not about share with them the success, but how you derive at the end stage. How do you derive at the success? Well, not forgetting the authenticity that we talk about, because vulnerability and humor connects with all the audience, because without that, we are not human. And lastly, the novelty factor, the innovation. What makes you so outstanding as a Victorian, as a student? What makes you thrive as an individual? So my friends, the mastery of the art of storytelling lies in the secret, because I discovered that the world's greatest innovators, the movers and shakers in the music industry, they all have this in common: the framework of creating unique signature sounds that resound in the international audience. It may not be an actual sound that you make, but actually a movement, a message that you have to empower the world. We talk about decisions, we talk about many dreams and aspirations that you want. So make this come to life. Make it the audience move their hearts and let them see through the tapestry of stories. And of course, as Oprah Winfrey always say, don't forget about the power of our personal legend. Why Bruce Lee is so famous in the world. How about you? What is the personal legend that you want to create in yourself, in your friend, and encourage your friends? This is the signature sound that will bring forth a personal legend for you and your future generation. So my friends, today might be the end of my story, but it is the beginning of your stories and your stories. So create that personal legend with a signature sound today. Thank you.